Okay, so here's a choice. Sushi or fried chicken?
Sushi.
Sushi.
I asked that same question last night. Well, not last night, but Thursday night. And everybody screamed sushi at first, and then they screamed fried chicken afterwards. Okay, so chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Okay. So we have chocolate and sushi. Y'all gonna have a stomach ache. All right, so moving right along. I tell really corny jokes to make up for some other things that go on. I once knew a poet, and she was really connected to her emotions, to the point so much that she felt that tears were so precious and beautiful. She even had a poem where she talked about naming every one of her tears. And that was like years and years ago. And then one day, I just woke up and just thought about the significance of tears. And, you know, the things that we look at it in tears, you know, they're aerodynamically perfect. They shed air when they fall. Tears cry wind. They have no sense of urgency or embarrassment. Tears don't fear appearing naked in empty rooms, crowded ones of those created by cupped hands placed over crying eyes. They just form a sea. Tears don't wear watches. So you never know when they're on their way or here until they appear suddenly. Tears are rock stars, bobbing their heads to the bumps of heartbeats, kissing lips, gunshots, and running feet. Psychiatrists, resurrecting feelings you thought you buried deep. Magicians, causing the world to shimmer and creating illusions beyond belief or description. Divers, springboarding off of eyelashes, falling freely, unafraid. Tears can't die. They become our own little thunderstorms, personal precipitation, individualized raindrops of our own creation, like those splashing against the razor blade umbrella he holds above his wrist. October was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we looked at, as a team and as a community, a lot of the things that we could do and a lot of the ways that domestic violence affects us. We did a play called Her Story Through His Eyes. It was at Ferris Newman, I think that's the correct name, Communication Center on North Carolina Central's campus. And one thing that I learned while we were there is how you may not even realize you're affected by things like domestic violence, molestation, abuse. But I want to say that the statistics are something like 8 out of 10 women. And how does that affect us as men? Well, the statistics on men probably aren't reported correctly because men, we have that machismo. And if we can keep it quiet, we will. But if, aside from the fact that we are also, or have also been victims of that directly, indirectly, have you ever asked your partner, your sister, your female friends, have you been affected by it? Because the way that they interact with us can be because of things that happened to them in the past. And so, I wrote this piece, and I tried to go a different way with it. Boots weren't made to walk on butterfly wings. Crowbars shouldn't be used to fluff pillows. Diamonds are beautiful except when used to cut. She searched for the perfect metaphor for love because hers had been a simile, but was now so unlike as it used to be she didn't recognize it anymore. She couldn't explain what it felt like to be beaten by the father of your children, still love him, but fear him. She knew. Velvet chains are still chains, regardless of how softly they caress your wrists, and the worst pain can be the sweetest, but could no longer live like this, so she crossed her arms. Hands taking hold of opposite shoulders, squeezed with all her might. Heard the crack she'd been seeking, ribcage collapsed, freeing her singing cage bird heart. Walks to where her jailer lies so peacefully, except for the stab wounds. Reached into her chest, extracted from tied flesh one bloody bone, paid her final debt, and gave him his rib back. Ending the symphony of the wind, orchestrated by his hurricane fist that tried to sing her lids shut forever, until she conducted a concerto of self-preservation in 3 movements: knife up, stab down, duck, knife up, stab down, duck. She beat a beat of salvation into his chest. The teardrop committed suicide. Fell dead from the corner of her eye to splash on her upturned wrist. She decided not to touch it with the blade she was using, to play a violin of violence along the lines of her veins, letting the blade's edge sing her the song of Solomon. It loved her, didn't it? She could feel it in its metal kiss, the one that tasted like his. She looked into her daughter's eyes, asking them for permission. It wasn't given. Instead, their cries made her realize that all this performance was missing was pyrotechnics. So with bloody fists, she broke in half a stick of dynamite, poured gunpowder along the horizon, lit a match, threw it in, and set the sky on fire. Now no one could hide from the light, and what was done in darkness would be obvious even to the sheriff who put those steel bracelets on her wrist and took her babies away. She watched their back shrink into nothingness like the closing credits of a movie. Shed teardrops shaped like question marks, wondering what would be their sequel. Wishing she could edit their story into a happily ever after ending, used a wedding ring on the glass of the police cruiser to carve their initials in the center of a broken heart. Looked in surprise as the phony diamond crumbled. It had been a fake promise. It had been a fake symbol of a false promise, one she no longer needed. Because she'd finally found the perfect metaphor for love. It was the happy music at a horror movie's ending. It was sacrificing everything for your children and loving them more than him. The perfect metaphor for love was her. Okay, so I guess you can't really do a set without addressing love. This is where you have to tell me yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
What you said.
What I said, okay.
Yeah, what you said.
I'm gonna do this a little different though.